On 12/12/21, December 12th, 2021, in the early morning hours, a body was discovered on the corner of 16th and First Avenue in Parker, Arizona, on the Colorado River Indian Tribes Indian Reservation, in between the Crit Villas and Crit Lodge. Upon further investigation, it was discovered that the body found was that identified as Albert Matthew Chavez, age 34, of Parker, Arizona. Following the opening investigation, an arrest was made on Rusty Lee Fisher. An arrest was made based on the facts that the day before, his son went to school at La Pera Elementary School, which is located 18 miles down in the valley of Parker, Arizona, past the Poston area, and was repeating what his father had told him. He went to school and repeated saying that, "I'm going to be going away for a long time because I just killed somebody." Teachers overheard that, reported to the police, and the police were on their way down. Also reported by a CPS worker that the day before the murder took place, the day before Albert's body was found, Albert had went to CPS and had mentioned to one of the CPS workers that he was in fear for his life from an individual by the name of Rusty Lee Fisher was going to kill him. So, armed with those two facts, an arrest warrant was made, and when the police were on their way down to question the kid in La Pera, they got a call that Rusty Fisher was open for interview. So they flipped around, never got a chance to interview the kid, and they spoke with this individual, in which they arrested him at the time. He was booked into the Colorado River Indian Tribes Men's Detention Jail, where he remained. He remained there on the charges of criminal homicide A, B, and C, and threats and endangerment. Upon being booked into the tribal jail, the following events transpired. First, he was booked in under criminal homicide, in which this individual has priors, which we'll get to later on, in which there was a shooting that involved a little 3-year-old girl. And knowing this being on his record, when we went to court, when he was arraigned, the request for bond was asked. And in normal situations, being a violent crime, there should have been a no bond hold. But in this case, Prosecutor Myers of the Colorado River Indian Tribes requested a bond of $3,000 on criminal homicide. Judge Utsi at the time decided that that wasn't enough, so he added $1,000 more, so $4,000 for criminal homicide in the tribal courts. And bond was posted. Bond was posted, and to everybody's dislike, Rusty Lee Fisher was released on bond. Upon hours of getting out, reports were already coming in of Rusty intimidating witnesses at the Walmart. Reports were already coming in that he was driving around, and it was already posted on social media. The sister to Albert Chavez followed him around, knowing that his conditions of release were he was to be supervised. He was under home arrest. He is not allowed to leave his place of residence, and he had a curfew, and he was only allowed to go to certain stores for certain items. And this individual violated right off the bat. He was followed, he was drinking, he was all over town, and it was posted on social media. Outrage came, and this individual had no intentions on following the law, had no concern whatsoever of the crime he just committed. So it was reported, and at the time, the police said there's nothing they could do. And I want to remind everybody out there that the judgments that are coming out of our courtrooms down at the tribal jail affect the community as a whole, because people are going to be upset and say, we don't want outsiders. We don't want the white man to know what's going on in the tribes. And I could equally say the white man does not want tribal killers amongst them. So it's a double-edged sword. And this awareness is going to be made for the community's sake. So within 8 days of being bonded out, $4,000 on criminal homicide, this individual was finally taken back into custody for violating his conditions of release for having foreign substance in his urine. So as soon as he got out, he was out drinking and getting high again. And when we went to court, because he started fighting, because of him violating his conditions of release, now a separate court hearing was being made, branching off from that, because now he's going to fight the charges of why his release was taken from him. And his public defender, Ruffner, argued that people who are stressed smoke weed. Never mind the fact that he's accused of criminal homicide. That was Ruffner's excuse for why poor little Rusty needed to get high. So he was booked back into tribal jail, where he remained. Later on down the line, a funeral comes up, and Special Prosecutor Marcus Kelly, nothing but love and respect for you, was unaware of the events that I'm going to speak about right now. And this is just unjust, and it makes anybody question our leaders altogether. So Rusty Lee Fisher is in court on criminal homicide. He violates his conditions of release right off the bat, and now they put a motion in for him to go to a funeral it's not even an immediate family member. And keep in mind that this is during the pandemic time. We lost many loved ones. People lost their moms, their sisters, and brothers and sisters. Everybody at the jail was denied going to funerals at this time. Not Rusty. Rusty went to court, filed to get out for a funeral, and not in universal rule. When it comes to violent criminals or any inmates, all movement is to be supervised by 2 guards, especially violent offenses. Keep that in mind. So a motion was placed for Rusty to get out to a funeral of somebody who wasn't even an immediate family member. It was denied by the courts. Judge Utsi said no. And so, unaware to both Judge Utsi and to Special Prosecutor Marcus Kelly, Rusty was released anyways. Word got to our ear from somebody that was inside the cry house that Rusty was there with 1 guard. Not only was Rusty there with 1 guard, Rusty was allowed to hug family members and everything. So where's the supervision in that? So I took it upon myself and I contacted Special Prosecutor Marcus Kelly. And keep in mind, nothing but love and respect for Marcus Kelly. He did not know. He had no part in this. I told him he didn't know, but I already knew that Rusty was out. And I just told him in a text that in the form like this, I heard Rusty's getting out, and he said, no, he's not. His motion was denied. He says, Marcus Kelly was trying to reassure the victim's family that we can go ahead and have a safe day and a safe night because this killer is not out there. But I already knew he was. And Marcus Kelly said, I can send you a copy of the court papers. Marcus Kelly had no idea that somebody in the tribal council had overruled the judge and him and released Rusty anyways. If our tribal council is practicing law in that and to where they can just go ahead and undo what our court system is doing, why even have a judge? Why even have a prosecutor? Why waste money and let's just start having trial by counsel? It's illegal, it's unethical, and it is unjust, but it happened. He got out. He went back where he stayed. He stayed, and because the feds have not picked up the case yet through tribal courts, if Rusty Lee Fisher was found guilty of criminal homicide, he was only going to receive 1 year, and that year was approaching quick. And so we set the date for trial. And in the process of getting ready for trial, a few of my family members woke up to court summonses. The girlfriend of Rusty Lee Fisher lied and charged me, my aunt, and two of my cousins, all on separate charges of harassment. And we all had to go to court, and every single one of us won. This liar, she knows she's a liar, out of all nights to accuse me. The charge she charged me with was that I drove up into her yard and I was playing loud music at like 2, 3 in the morning. Possible? But let me tell you something about a tribal council member of ours who attends every funeral. His name is Tommy Lee Drennan. And the night that Rusty's girlfriend decided to say that I did this was the night I was pallbearer at my sister-in-law's funeral, in which council member Tommy Drennan was there. This girl was clearly lying. At all nights to lie about this, she lied about a night where I had over 100 witnesses stating I was there, including a tribal council member. Well, we went into court, proved she was a liar. She went home with her head down. So we get ready for court. And by the way, there should be penalties for that, but there's not. Wasting the court's time. But these are little games they play. And so we get ready for jury. Jury comes, and the trial comes. And these are the steps to what we're getting ready for in the jury trial. First, the trial started. And it almost didn't start. Why? Because the star witness for the police department was Sergeant Sonny Fisher, or whatever he is, Lieutenant. And yes, Fisher, as in the same family as Rusty. He was partying it up, or he was on vacation in Las Vegas, knowing he was summoned to trial. He was summoned. He had to be there. He was representing the police department. He was subpoenaed by the courts to be there to testify because he was the first one on the scene of what he saw. So before we can even begin the jury selection, the trial was already almost over because they had to convince him to come back from Las Vegas to a murder trial in which he was subpoenaed. So we had to stop the first day and wait for him. Then the jury selection came. Jury selection, they subpoenaed countless tribal members, and a lot of them didn't show up. So it was almost a mistrial just because there wasn't a jury selection. So the trial is already on the hinges. You got Sonny Fisher, who was subpoenaed to be there to testify on behalf of the police department. Family member, to me, it's not a conspiracy theory. It's just facts. He's family member to Rusty Fisher. He was the first on the scene, and they had to. And the trial almost didn't even happen because of him. Facts. Facts is the jury selection. It almost didn't happen because people didn't show up. Luckily, they waited long enough. People did show up. So the steps to a jury trial. Now that we got Sonny Fisher there to testify in a murder trial on the reservation, I mean, I thought, forgive me if I'm wrong, a subpoena means you show up here. If you don't, you're going to jail. I could be old fashioned, but that's what I thought. I don't know if the tribe, apparently the tribes don't practice that, because Sonny Fisher didn't mean he wasn't here. It was, so I guess he wants a pat on the back that he showed up to a murder trial where he was subpoenaed. So these are the steps, jury trial. First, we go through the jury selection, which we barely made it through. And then we had the opening statements from both defense, Ruffner, and prosecutor Kelly. And then the presentation of evidence. And Marcus Kelly did an overwhelmingly good job. And I thank you, Marcus Kelly, for what you did. Presentation of evidence. Then the ruling by the judge to allow this evidence in as evidence. And then we have the instruction to the jury, such as don't go on Facebook, don't talk about this, don't read the newspaper. Then we have closing arguments. And then we got deliberation. And I'm going to take you through all these steps. I'm going to take you through all these steps and let you know what happened in the courtroom.